And we call it something you should be doing if you're not already. And I'll go first. And mine is knowing when to move on.
Ooh. It's like a relationship kind of.
Yeah, we're working on a relationship podcast, so this is the backdoor pilot into that as part of the Oneicity Podcast Network.
If you're dating, yeah, two old guys like us.
Yeah, that's exactly
right?
what people want to know. I think there's like a seniors match or something that we could get a sponsorship for. Anyway, know when to move on. Know when a job is good enough.
Oh, yeah.
There are things to tinker, but at some point you can be tinkering and you're just tinkering either to tinker because maybe you think, okay, if the agency sent me this, I've got to keep revising it or else I'm not really doing my job. There could be lots of reasons behind it.
So good.
Yeah. But at a certain point, you're getting diminishing returns.
Yeah.
At best, if you're not hurting it. And there could be a point where the revision you're making just to revise or keep tinkering, you've actually hurt your impact and it's less effective, or you're not making that big of a difference. And so at best, you then have to do the math of, okay, is what I'm tinkering with worth the time, X, what I'm spending to tinker with this versus Y, the possible impact. And you have to look at what you're tinkering with at that point. Is it the call to action headline? Okay, that's worth spending some time to make sure that is dialed in and correct. Third sentence of paragraph 5. As long as you don't offend anybody, it's probably not worth spending extra time on that. So know when to move on and know when this is good enough and not just meh, but this is good, this is effective, and it's more effective over the course of a year to move on to the next project.
Oh, that's so good. I spent some time dealing with exactly that kind of problem with a client today, and it is hard to turn loose of something if it doesn't feel perfect, but something in the 80-85% good enough in front of donors is better than 100% that is either late or you never get it in front of donors. So totally.
Or it causes you to be late on the next thing
because
you were focused on this. You're delivering a lot of work.
It's easy to do that. It's easy for that to happen. Mm-hmm. But if you can focus on getting it in front of the right people when it is good enough, and that's hard language for people to hear sometimes. Good enough, because that can sound bad. But I wish I had known that you were going to talk about this, because I would have double checked the adage. But what is it? The perfect is the enemy of.
Oh,
I
didn't look that up.
Yeah. So
anyway, perfect is the enemy of good enough, or effective, or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry. Can you tell we don't rehearse this ahead? It's casual.
We aren't spending extra time tinkering with this segment.
We would do this exactly like we would do it over the barbecue grill.
This is good enough.
Is it my turn?
That was good enough for me.
Yeah, good enough. All right. And I should have brought that up, but I thought anyway.
Come on.
Okay. So you were me?
Yeah. Okay. Let's go you.
So here's what I think you should. This is something you should try. Right now, is sit down and read your last year's fundraising. So hopefully you've got that in a file, or you've got it maybe you're old school and got it 3-ring binder, or however it is, and look at what you have put in front of donors for the last 12 months. And what I would prefer that you do is, if you do direct mail and email and social, whatever you do look at everything as it unfold in front of donors. Now, the first thing to recognize is it's not like donors paid attention to it that way. They were coming in and out.
That's a shock.
They're coming in and out of it very roughly.
Okay.
But the idea is it is hard to do the reviews. We've talked about how you review when you're planning, but one of the things that occurred to me, it is so easy to lose sight of, because it's like that old I Love Lucy episode where you got the chocolates, running off and they're dipping or whatever they're doing, or whatever your metaphor is for something that's moving fast. And so you've got these things going, and if you don't sit down and say, what are they seeing? What are we telling them? What are we hearing? And so 3 questions for you to look at as you review. 1, what's your overall impression of what is being told, right? Second thing, What is the main thing that you talk to donors about your cause or your organization? Number 3, what's missing? What are the things
what's missing?
What seems to be not done? Now, I don't want you to get a cup of coffee, go to the bathroom. I want you to read the whole year in one sitting. Now, it may be a long sitting, you may have to prepare for it. But one of the advantages you get with that is that it is all in front of you, all in your head at one time. And you will gain there'll be some understandings that will come to you and some things you go, I can't believe we didn't talk about this. Or, wow, we talked about that way too much.
Yeah,
Or,
we say that all the time.
exactly. There'll be some phrases you start hearing that you don't like to hear. Hopefully there'll be other phrases that you think, oh man, we are driving that home. This is awesome. So give that some thought. Look at a year, and it doesn't matter what the year is, just 12 months, back up 12 months.
A rolling year.
A rolling year, however you want to do it. But you want to cover a 12-month period. And so say we're recording in July. If I were doing this, I would say do July to June from last year or whatever's a 12-month cycle. I would rather you did a rolling year, as you said, than go to back up to December and then do January of, what would that be, 20? Yeah.
I was told there was going to be no math.
Yeah, sorry. It's a calendar.
I don't like that.
I can't remember what year we're in. So because that will be COVID and there'll be a lot of other things. But if you just back up 12 months from where you are, that will inform wherever you're going to go next, without question.
Yeah. You can't know where you're going to go if you don't realize where you've been, what you've been doing.
Hashtag.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode of Not Your Father's Fundraising Podcast.